Hey, quick preface. Sorry if the audio quality on this video is a little worse than the last one. I no longer have access to the recording studio I had for that video. Now I'm recording in my car. I hope it still works out. Anyway, good morning everyone. You can call me Amnosiac, and today I am here to present you with a tutorial video. There's a lot of tutorial videos on YouTube, but as most adult animation is quick to criticize, they're not usually particularly helpful. So often do YouTubers demand you buy some specialty product, or they go on a spiel about subscriptions and other services. Well, I can promise you that I offer none of that. This is just going to be a clean, informational tutorial about how to know whether or not you are living under a rock. What does it mean to live under a rock? It's a strange phase, a strange concept, that of living beneath such a traditionally uninhabitable presence. But all through time, people have made it work, and it seems that the tradition has pervaded our culture such that some people do not even know whether or not they're living under a rock. Now, when I was a small child, this phrase confused me. The other kids would gather around and laugh at me for not knowing the things they did, for I was spending too much time learning the anatomy of the inside of my nose, rather than receiving piggyback rides from the kid who'd been held back too many times in a replication of the film Big Hero 6, as I was not aware of this movie. I would get told I live under a rock. In modern days, this trend persists. I haven't watched things like Obsession and Euphoria and Barbenheimer and Sunyan Ring 3, The Sunyaning, because I'm too busy playing Deltarune. I also expect that others face this issue. I know I'm never alone in my struggle, for this phrase is used enough in discourse unrelated to me that someone else's foolhardiness had to be the cause for its popularization. This is why I've decided to make a guide, to help those lost individuals who are unsure if they should truly be afflicted by the base insult. This here is how to know if you're living under a rock. Now, one of the easiest ways to tell if you're living under a rock is if enough people tell you that you are. If just one person tells you, you could dismiss it as a fluke. But if several people do, and especially if they sort of bounce off of each other and saying it, then you can be pretty sure that they're right. I recommend doing this first. Go out of your house, talk to people, and ask them if they think you're living under a rock. Do this before you follow the other steps in this video. Now, you're back from asking people, yes? Unfortunately, there are two major flaws to this strategy. The first is that people are fallible. Unless you're asking trained geologists, it is unlikely that people can be sure that the object that you reside under is, in truth, a rock. The second major flaw is that many people who fear that they may be living under a rock also happen to fall into the particular subset of people that simply do not engage in any socialization. This can make figuring out whether or not you live under a rock difficult, because you can't just flat out ask anyone. But do not despair! There's another strategy, and more to come. This particular strategy concerns smell. Often, rocks will carry a specific smell, and you can identify the smell in order to figure out whether or not you live under one. Now, some of the smells that you should be looking out for are particularly musty ones, dusty ones, rocks attract dust, that's common knowledge, and rusty ones, because it rhymes with the last two. You can also try to detect earthy smells, once you've cleared out your compost of all your vegan gluten-free meals. If you dare, take a picture of water and throw it all around your house. If you're living under a rock, this ought to make a metallic smell. Finally, some rocks smell like rotten eggs, so keep a nose out for that too. If you're anything like me, you do not possess the ability to smell. This is okay. There is still hope with this next strategy. Rocks block light, yes? That means that if you do live under a rock, without any artificial lighting fixtures, you ought to be submerged in complete darkness. So, go around your house, snuff out your candles, turn off your lamps, and banish your light bringers. If you find yourself in utter darkness, you most likely live under a rock. Unfortunately, this strategy does not particularly work for blind people. So instead, blind people can do what is written on screen at this moment, and figure out whether or not they live under a rock by doing that. The final strategy I offer is not some miracle. It is not an end or the best strategy out of these, it is just the one that happens to come last. Really, your conclusion about whether or not you live under a rock should come from a combination of all these strategies, discounting what you must and focusing on what you feel you ought to. Now, these strategies are highly reliable for 90% of the people who are wondering about whether or not they live under a rock. However, that final 10% faces a different challenge. Their rocks are held up by something. You could go your whole life living under a rock without knowing it, all because the rock was actually far, far above you the whole time. You can't smell or touch it from that far away. So what do you ought to do? Well, I have a clever solution. Every high up rock needs something to hold it up. Rocks can't float, that goes against their very nature. So instead of looking for a rock, you can look for the supports that may hold a rock up. Pillars, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, or Tuscan. Other times, cruder designs are used to hold the rocks up, but this is very rare. Now, for those of you who have watched this video and acted on it, I expect many of you to bear fresh grins, equipped with the knowledge that you do not, in fact, live under a rock. However, for those of you that do, I want to say that there is hope. Advocacy groups and charities for people that live under rocks have not quite started, but I reckon that there's rumbling, especially as the community grows. In addition, the media representations of characters that live under rocks has grown as well. The best example of this that I could find was Patrick Star, who does unfortunately represent some harmful stereotypes about people who live under rocks, such as a failure to understand much of the world around you. But the representation is there nonetheless, and Patrick is a complex character. Yes, he's ignorant, but he's also a compassionate friend of SpongeBob's, and a valuable addition to Bikini Bottom. I personally followed the steps here after I finished conceptualizing this video, and luckily, I found that I do not live under a rock. Ha! Losers! I can't bear to imagine what it must be like down there. Get a new house! Sell your rock before the price plummets because of this video. That's right, it's me, ruining the value of your house. Everyone else's houses just keep getting pricier except for yours, and that's my fault. All me. And guess what? I feel no regret. No remorse at all. Non-under rock livers for life. Screw you!